You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. Welcome to Volatility Views, the premier program for volatility traders. Each week, we'll take a deep dive into the world of volatility with in-depth analysis, trading activity reviews, strategy breakdowns, cutting-edge education, and much more. We'll also bring you exclusive conversations with the traders, researchers, and asset managers who are reshaping the volatility landscape. If it involves volatility, then you'll find it on Volatility Views. And now, it's time to take a deep dive into the world of volatility. It's time for Volatility Views.
All right, everybody. That music means it is time once again to commence operations. Talk a little bit of vol here on the network. I know, surprise. Yes, it is time once again for Volatility Views, the premier program for volatility traders. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as from the network upon which so many of you folks are having a good old time these days. Get ready for a little bit more fun coming at you starting next week. 17 plus years into the network, still growing, still bigger and better than ever, every week, every month, every year. New show coming on starting next Wednesday. Should be a fun one, so stay tuned for that. If you subscribe to the full feed already, just hang out. It'll be there for you on Wednesday. Should be a banger. And if you're not, if you're just listening to Vol Views, and I know there is a dedicated cadre of Vol Views devotees, shall we say. We hear from you. They're all over the world. We love you. But you should be listening to the full network, too. You're missing out on nearly a dozen other shows coming at you throughout the week. So make sure, if you haven't done so already, make sure you're upgrading to the full kit and caboodle. Speaking of the full kit and caboodle, you don't want your day to end with Vol Views. You want to come back after Vol Views. You don't want that bouncer to cut you off with the velvet rope. Head on over to theoptionsinsider.com/pro. And once you're there, you'll get access to a little thing we call Options Oddities that comes in after Vol Views every week. It's a fun time. It's been a banger of late. You don't want to miss this one. Theoptionsinsider.com/pro. The place to go to learn more as we learn who's joining us on the old program today. First, let's go out to the hinterlands of Chicago, or maybe Indiana, or maybe both. Maybe he's stuck somewhere on the roadside in between. We are joined once again by Mr. Russell Rhoads, hailing these days from the Kelley School of Business, corrupting young minds for the future. Mr. Rhoads, welcome back to Vol Views, sir.
I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. The quarter is in full swing. And so far, I've only had 3 students ask me if I know anything about VIX.
Oh.
Every quarter, I have a student that just says, do you know anything about this VIX thing? It's just the funniest thing.
Now only 3, so you're down to 3. So I guess your reputation is preceding you, I say, as I choke on the lozenge here that I'm using to keep my vocal cords going. As we keep on rolling, let's go out to the dark, stormy, hellacious shores of Maine, where we are joined once again by the rockingest of lobsters, Mr. Andrew Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. Mr. G, welcome back to the show, sir.
It's a pleasure to be here. We have a full house, august company, and everything.
Can't keep him off Vol Views these days, sir. As we're also joined by the options guy himself, aka the options man about town, as I like to call him, popping up all over the place, aka the once and future host of OPR, Mr. Brian Overby. Mr. Brian, welcome back to the network, sir.
Great to be back. I'd love to talk VIX as we end the month of August and get into September, my favorite time of year if you're a VIX trader.
All right, then let's get to it then, listeners. A little bit of the old volatility review.
It's time to break down the latest developments in the volatility trading world. It's time for the Volatility Review.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Vol Review, the portion of the show where we do just that. We break down the week that was, and indeed still is, from vol trading and trending and analysis and unusual activity, all sorts of fun perspectives out there. And it's been a fun and indeed an interesting week. We are still decidedly biased towards the green. We had a few big events now in the rearview mirror. Of course, everyone was waiting for the Fed with Jackson Hole. We got that last week. Now this week, of course, we had the other big event, the other big shoe to drop, which was NVIDIA's earnings, which they hit a solid, as I called it, maybe in the park home run, nice triple, but didn't quite knock the cover off the ball the way everyone needs these days in the AI sector. So kind of came for NVIDIA a little bit. The market seemed to mostly shrug it off, but as it has lately, whenever we get a little bit of a rally, it does seem like towards the end of the session, maybe even the middle of the session, the strength starts to fade. The bulls start to weaken and ebb a little bit. And that's kind of what we're seeing out there again today. We started out of the gate hot, started out of the gate strong yet again. The Fed's preferred measure looking pretty decent out there. So folks like, here we go. Good news is good news again. Rally hold mode, half a point coming in September. And then as the day has progressed, we've seen once again that strength start to ebb. We're looking here, it says we're looking green, but actually if you look at the markets now, we're actually a bit of a mixed bag right now. S&P up almost 0.2%, NASDAQ up about exactly 1/3%. Dow turning to the dark side, off about 0.2%. And our old pal, the small caps, off about 1/3% as well. So the market's actually decidedly mixed as we're kicking off the show here. VIX is not mixed, though. VIX is giving up the ghost. Of course, we are heading into a long holiday weekend as well. So bear that in mind out there. VIX cash, when we kicked off the show, 1580, down about exactly a point from where it was this time last week. And our old pal VVIX still slumming it just slightly below the triple-digit level at about a 95 when we kicked off the show. All right, a lot to unpack. Let's go around the horn. Let's start with the options man about town, Mr. Overby. I know you're excited to talk about VIX this week. What's been catching your eye, sir?
Well, just the seasonality of the VIX, and it's, year over year, it proves itself that we're going to get volatility in September and October. Now, with that mentioned, the market's in a real good spot. With the PCE numbers out today, the Fed they're saying 100% chance of a rate cut on the 18th, 30% chance out of that 100% that they might go 50 basis points. Earnings have still been strong. Even the Russell 2000 is poking its head out. So I'm still going to trust the seasonality of the VIX. And, I rode the VIX down after the spike up in August and did actually a similar trade that I'll probably talk about a little bit later on in the show, but to the downside. And I'm going to go a little bit longer and look for more volatility going into September, even though the markets just seem really tame at this point in time. There's no real headwinds that you see besides the geopolitical concerns. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of people waiting for that big day in November. That's going to, get that off the table, the election, and that will change a lot of things, I think, just in the marketplace to get rid of that uncertainty.
Big day in November. You're looking forward to Black Friday, get some retail sales under our belt. That's what you're looking forward to?
Yeah, always looking forward to Black Friday. But, I do all my shopping now on Amazon Prime Day. I mean, Black Friday, so 2020, you know what I'm saying?
Now you get Black Friday every couple of months, it seems like, out there. Listen, who needs November any longer? As we keep on rolling, let's go out to the dark and stormy and hellacious shores of Maine. Mr. Rock Lobster, sir, an intriguing week. What's been catching your eye out there?
I have to say, are we in like the conflicting signals category here? I'm looking at, volatility. So Mark and I were noticing it today, like realized vol has sunk to back around 10% for the last 10 days. However, he's like, well, Andrew, hello, wake up. ATR is like 60 handles a day for SPX, which is over 1%. So is like one of those, okay. I feel like stocks are very unsettled. And VIX is 15, but we're not really doing anything. The election's a year away. Sorry, not a year away, but out of the VIX cycle. The inflation news, okay. Economic news, okay. And people are still kind of jumpy. At least from, a VIX point of view, it feels jumpy. So that's what I would say is, all I can say is it's like cross signals. You can't really be bullish. You can't be bearish. I tried to set up a little running trade today when we were up, and then, I closed some VIX puts. So then I had my SPY put spread sort of set up for the downside. And I don't know, we were down $2 SPY or something, and then it just stopped and came back again. So except for the freaking carry bomb, nobody really wants to sell stocks. So if they ain't selling them, they ain't selling them. And I mean, that ultimately is the signal. So, and that's what I'll, from a signal point of view, that's what I'll take. But I don't see it, and I don't see it changing. I am surprised that VIX is still, close to 16, but if we're moving at 1% a day intraday, with all these kind of bumps and starts, then it's probably priced right. So we're just going to sit here and beat around for a while, is what it feels like.
Beating around indeed, as we turn now to Mr. Russell Rhoads. And when he's not corrupting young minds, he's chatting with us here on Vol Views. Mr. Rhoads, sir, what's been catching your eye in another interesting week on the vol front?
Doesn't it feel like, and I was trying to look at the weekly charts, doesn't it feel like every week we do get a little bit of a sucker rally in VIX that we're seeing? Just it seems to happen about midweek. Like we got up into the 17s this past week on Wednesday. I believe the week before we had a day or two where we where the people that get all excited about owning VIX calls with a 20 handle start to wake up and go, this is it. This is the time. But doesn't it? I just feel like we keep having this, and maybe it's just due to late August illiquidity that maybe we're getting a bit of jerking around. But there seems to be a skinny line or two every week at the upper end of the candlesticks. And so that, as I say this, I realize I probably should go check and see how many of those little spikes are happening in the off hours, because that's a new one of my little focuses. So maybe that'll be the quant work I do while the rest of you guys are talking. But it does feel like, and I think this mirrors. I can't remember who said something along the lines that the market feels a bit edgy, or that it just doesn't seem to know what direction. I think Andrew said doesn't know what direction it seems to want to go, but it does feel like they're kind of on edge because we getting these mini VIX spikes every week. So I'm not going to say that they're panicking like they would if it were Christmas time and we needed the GI Joe with the Kung Fu grip, but they're nervous. They're teetering on panicking out there, and it won't take a whole lot for them to panic. I think if we do get something that gets VIX going up to the 20s, it's probably going to be next week with a couple of major economic numbers.
The old Kung Fu grip. If you got one with a good Kung Fu grip, it's worth some money, Mr. Rock. Or I should say Mr. Rhoads. So hold on to those bad boys. Kung Fu grip equals $ these days. As we keep on rolling, let's see if we got some $ on the vol surface. And it depends. It's kind of everyone here alluded to on the show already today. It's kind of hard to really just run away with it on the vol scene like you could have a few weeks ago when VIX just came crashing back to earth in just a meteoric and, dare I say it, historic fashion. Not quite the case these days. A lot more vacillation as we're talking about here. And that's kind of the case here on the old vol surface as well. I mean, don't get me wrong. Things are down, but it's not like it's an earth-shattering movement or anything along those lines. As we kicked off the show, the SEP future was right around 1570. That puts it down about 0.8 of a point from where it was this time last week. OCC futures at about a little bit north of 1765. That puts it down almost a full point, about 0.95 from where it was this time last week. And again, as you scroll all the way out to Q1 and beyond of next year, a 20 handle nowhere in the offing, listeners. The highest we get is about an 18.5 out in April of next year. So pricing in that good April juice out there on the VIX curve. Brian, I know you love slinging yourself some VIX futures. You're always messaging me during the week saying, have you seen this going on in the VIX futures? Have you seen that going on? You can't shut up about the VIX futures, so now is your chance, sir. Hold court for 20 minutes. What are your thoughts on the vol surface, sir?
Are you sure you got the right Brian? Just want to make sure. No,
they
just
call
kidding.
you the VIX futures guy, too?
No, well, the biggest thing that I see that is kind of amazing to me is that the September future is trading right about where the spot is at this point in time. And then you jump out to October, and the seasonality, I guess, is playing out because October we got a couple of point spike up in the actual futures contract, and it's settling in a little bit, but that's a pretty big skew between September and October. And I mean, it was part of the reason why I've kind of focused on being a little bit more bullish in the September month with the strategy that I have on for this month. But yeah, surprising would be my word. I'm not quite sure why the marketplace thinks October is going to be so much more volatile than September. I don't have a good anecdote to try to tell you why that might be. But that's what I've noticed more than anything.
Mr. Rhoads, what have you noticed in said vol surface, sir?
Yeah. So, Brian, I hate to step on you a little bit, but October. Everybody believes that October is at a premium because we'll still have a lot of uncertainty going into the election, and what October settles into would be options that expire after the election. Now, that was the attitude 4 years ago. And it did flatten in the last couple of weeks before the election. And we've already seen that. We've talked a lot about that October-November spread, and that is down to 20 cents. It spiked, and I said last week, and I'll sound like a broken record as long as I think the situation warrants it. If we do get a volatility event, especially with October as the second month and November is the third month. Earlier this month on August 2nd and August 5th, that spread right now it's 20 cents. October was at a $2.10 premium, and I think it was probably more than that. I just know 2.10 because that was the price when I shorted October and went long November. How's that for a humble brag on a trade? But I'm sure that it was higher than that. I'm sure I didn't sell the high on it, and got out of it last week at about 50 cents. So I didn't write it down to to get into parity. But if I wake up and VIX is looking 20, 21, 22, first thing I'm going to do is look at that relationship, and if it's above $1.50 or so, I'd probably put it back on once again.
And Mr. Rock Lobster, sir, the last word is yours. What's catching your eye on the vol futures, sir?
The last word is mine, huh? I would say, again, because of the daily range, all the short-term volatilities are at a pretty decent premium to realize vol, which is not normally how SPX trades. I have to be honest. They try to get those vols down pretty hard, so it is a surprising brew on that. So normally when you have all the elevated short-term vols, it flattens the front end of the curve. So for as what I would say contango as a shape that we having VIX cash as high as it is relative just means the market is expecting more volatility in the near term. So that's what I read. That's kind of how I have set up. And just today I just closed some SPY put spreads because we didn't get the sell off. I mean, I took the money I could get and ran, but I think it's a symptom of an orbiting market. SPY up 3, SPY down 3. There's no. I think the VIX curve is pretty good at sort of guesstimating how SPX is going to move for a period of time. And then things change. But right now it just says orbiting back and forth market until we're all blue in the face. Maybe until the election. I mean, it could stay like that for 2 months. And on the action I see and how VIX puts have been paying, that's what it appears right now. It looks like we're going to get kind of that orbiting action. So that's what we got.
Something is clearly orbiting out in VIX land today, because I was prepared to pronounce it a very sleepy day when we kicked off the show, and now all of a sudden it is roaring back to life. Hundreds of thousands of contracts going up just in the last few minutes out there. Let's go find out what's up. But first, let's look at the overall ADV. It's still ridiculously frothy for this time of year, listeners. 1.16 million. That's down about 60,000, but still, anything north of a million in the dog days of summer is ridiculous volume. So VIX still hot. And kicking off the show, VIX has only had like a couple 100,000 contracts. There was a whole heck of a lot of nothing. We are heading into a long holiday weekend. People are already heading for the Hamptons or the south of France. There should be nobody slinging VIX on a day like today. And then I guess they all came back to their desks, as of a few minutes ago, we're up to 669,000 contracts. So the game is afoot out there today, listeners. We'll go find out in a little bit what's going on. First, let's find out what's open for size right now. What's the big dog in VIX options right now? By the way, we are at exactly 50-50 calls over puts. Can't remember the last time we were evenly split in the top 10 in VIX options. It has been quite some time. When we shot up there, puts actually were outnumbering calls for the first time in a long time. That was also unprecedented for the last few years. But 50-50, it's got to go back a ways to find something. Got to go back really to when VIX was back in the loftier period to really see something like that again. Number 10, 220,000 of the SEP 13 puts, so it cost you 220 still to break into the top 10 in VIX options. That is nothing to sneeze at. Number 9, 235,000 of the SEP 14 puts. Number 8, also 235,000 of the DEES 42 halves, only a couple hundred contracts separating 8 and 9 this week. Number 7, 263,000 of the SEP 16 puts. Number 6, 294,000 of the SEP 15 puts. Number 5, 342,000 of the SEP 17 puts. Everyone likes 17 strike this week. Number 4, 364,000 of its sibling, the SEP 17 calls. In fact, all calls the rest of the way, listeners. Number 3, 381,000 of the SEP 45s. Number 2, 383,000 of the SEP 25s. And the big dog, yet again, in VIX options this week, 389,000 of the SEP 20s. Some of that might be related to the paper we're seeing going up today. But before we get there, listeners, let's go to a little bit of Russell's Weekly Rundown.
Now, Russell's Weekly Rundown. Now, Russell's Weekly Rundown.
All right, Mr. Rhoads, the floor is yours. I toss the microphone to you. What you got for us, sir?
Okay, Monday. When I was growing up in Memphis, Tennessee, Monday night was wrestling night. So if you said Monday night, baby, that meant you wanted to fight somebody. Trade them. I probably the best trade that I from this past week. Somebody with VIX at 1593, 150 times they bought the September 11th 18 calls for 95 cents and sold the 22 calls for 49 cents. That is a cost of 46 cents. Probably have a double plus if we see VIX up in the 20s next week. And the reason that I refer to next week, I already alluded to the kind of a heavy economic number week next week. We get the employment number at the end of the week. Remember the last employment number we got was one of the catalysts that pushed the equity market down an awful lot. So I think people will be braced for that. Didn't see as many September 11th trades using the September 11th options as I thought I would. Based on that thesis. But then again, as you noted, everybody's heading out of town. When I was flying my private plane back from Indiana yesterday, I could look down on the expressway and the traffic out of Chicago was horrible. Tuesday, we got a roll trade. Somebody bought 1,000 of the August 28th 20 puts for $4.39. They were short those guys, and they rolled out to the September 4th 19 puts. They sold those for $3.10 each. Now, I could tell it was a rolling transaction, so I went backwards. And it looks like they sold those August 28th 20 puts at an average price of $4.57 the previous Tuesday. So looks like they were covering a short and rolling that short out and down. And also it looks like they added to the position a bit. It's like they bought 1,000 but sold 1,200. So it might be a little bit of dollar matching there with the different premiums on the options. I did check the August 28th VRO. For those of you who don't know, that's the VIX settlement. And they honestly would have been slightly better off if they had just held those August 28th 20 puts into expiration. Cash settlement was $4.30 for those. And again, they covered that short at $4.39. Just really splitting hairs on that one. And then Wednesday and this is another trade that I really kind of like this one. I really kind of like this one because it's short VIX and it's using next week's Wednesday options. We all know we've got Monday off. So we really only have one full trading day between now and then. And I was mentioning earlier that it seems like we get VIX spikes every week. VIX was at 1783 when this trade went off. Somebody sold 250 of the September 4th 20 calls for 69 cents. They bought the 30 calls for 18 cents, taking in a 51-cent credit. VIX stays under 20 through next Wednesday's settlement. This trade will look pretty good. Again, I think that's kind of a smart trade. A little concerned about the risk reward on the dollar thing if we get a volatility event, but pretty doubtful we'll get a volatility event based on any known unknowns. Of course, if something silly happens over the weekend, this trade may be in trouble as well. Other than that, not a whole ton, the last couple of days, not a whole ton of weekly trades that caught my eye. There were a lot of weekly trades yesterday. And then, as you noted, the tape, at least about an hour ago when I was prepping for the show, the tape was just, it looked like the Friday after Thanksgiving. How's that for how really quiet it seems to be today, or at least earlier was?
I like the visual of you flying over in your private plane.
Oh, I know. And you know that's total crap.
Looking down on the peons. Don't believe him, listeners. He's jetting all over the place. He's the jet setter of the crew out there, Mr. Rhoads. Let's see if anybody's jet setting in VIX options. Like we said, today kind of coming out of nowhere to get a little action. It looks like this SEP 3022, probably a roll, but I'll have to go look to see for certain. Going up for size all of a sudden. There's 201,000 on the tape of the SEP 30s now and 200,000 of the SEP 22s. We know for sure the 22s are opening. The 30s have been around for a bit. That's why I'm saying this could be a bit of a roll down to a, dare I say it, more relevant strike out there. Either way, that's what's lighting up the tape. That's 400,000 contracts right there. Otherwise, we're kind of in sleepy mode. The next number 3, listeners, is a paltry 30,000. So that shows you where we were headed before this size spread came in. Number 4, 23,000. By the way, Number 3 is 30,000 of the OC 15 puts. Number 4, 23,000 of the OC 16 puts. And number 5, 17,000 of the SEP 14 puts. So total about 670,000 contracts on the tape today. Yesterday, couldn't even manage that. 485,000 on the tape yesterday. The big dog yesterday, 38,000 of the OC 16 puts, followed by number 2, 30,000 of the OC 15 puts. Number 3, 24,000 of the SEP 16s. Number 4, 24,000 of the SEP 31s. Don't see a lot of those oddball strikes that often. And number 5, 22,000 of the SEP 26s. Wednesday, respectable, but again, no days really even threatening that lofty ADV, so obviously that's going to come crashing back to earth. The big dog on Wednesday, 106,000 of the SEP 20s. Number 2, 48,000 of the SEP 15 puts. By the way, Wednesday, 587,000 contracts in total going up. Number 3, 33,000 of the SEP 25s. Number 4, 25K of the OC 15 puts. And rounding out the top 5 on Wednesday, 23,000 of the SEP 14 puts. Tuesday, same rough volume level, 553 on the tape. The big dog, 36,000. Again, OC 16 puts were the trade of the week. Number 2, 33,000 of the SEP 30s. Number 3, 32,000 of the SEP 35s. Number 4, 22K of the SEP 15 puts. And rounding out the top 5 on a okay, shrug your shoulders Tuesday, almost 21,000 of the SEP 16 puts. Monday, that looks like a Monday in August. 390,000 on the tape on Monday. 38,000 of the SEP 18s for number 1. 21,000 of the OC 20s for number 2. 20,000 of the SEP 16s for number 3. 14,000 of the SEP 15 puts for number 4. And bringing up the rear on a pretty anemic Monday, 13,000 of the OC 18 puts. All right, we get to the moment now everyone has been waiting for. If I had a drum roll at my disposal, Brian, I would fire it up because you've been teasing us about this VIX trade. Russell's been teasing us. He's teasing our chat saying, watch out for this awesome, mind-blowing VIX trade that Brian has. So I've allocated the remaining 30 minutes to you, sir. Go for it. The floor is yours.
All right. I'll fill at least 5 of it. So okay. So it's not that Russell and I actually had a little chat on Monday, and we just talked about a couple of the trades that he mentioned, especially the UVIX trade, which was real interesting that he just brought up on your show recently. And I said, well, on the downside, I was doing a butterfly that is modified in that the short spread is less wide than the long spread. And in the VIX, it adds a few cents to the actual butterfly cost, but it makes, it allows that if you're in the VIX and you either get a big spike to the downside, like we were looking at when the VIX was up around 30 or the 28 level just hanging out, or a big spike to the upside, which that's what the seasonality of the VIX is saying going into September and October. And so it being the last week in August, the trade that I put on, and I actually have it at Brian Overby in my Twitter feed as a screenshot of it, but it's quite simply a modified butterfly. And I prefer to call this a modified butterfly than the skip strikes that I usually talk about on OPR. But just buying the September, the monthly expiration, the 18th, 18 strike call, selling 2 of the 24 strike calls, so that's 6 points wide, and then just buying 1 of the 29 calls. Now, that butterfly is fairly inexpensive relative, but you still have, if the VIX did spike up and blow out the 29, your hedge wing of your butterfly, that trade is still profitable in that you would basically make about 100% gain on your position. So as long as you can get to the break even of the trade, and right now it actually is down a little bit it's down a dime from the one I initially put it on Monday or Tuesday. I don't remember what day I put it on in my account, but right now it's trading at about 20 cents and it was right around 30 cents on Monday. So bottom line is, if you can get to 1830 on the VIX, if you're settle anywhere above that level, this trade is profitable. And there's a potential for a home run if it can land somewhere around the 24 handle. So your goal here on this trade is for the VIX to be somewhere really between 20 and maybe 23. You'd like it to get up above that 20 handle and hang out there. If it spikes all the way up, you're still profitable all the way up to 29. And it goodly profitable, to use that magic term, goodly. And then from 29 on up, you can still make 60 some cents on the trade. You could still get out of it for about 60 some cents minus the 40 cents, and you're looking at doubling. So your only concern is if the VIX just dies and just hangs right here and you get no spike in September whatsoever. And like I said, I put the screenshot in my X feed, which is handle is at Brian Overby. But that was the trade, and Russell was on the show, and I asked him what my grade was, and he gave me an A+. So that was my first A+ of my educational career. Given to me by a professor. So I was very excited on Tuesday to go tell my mom about it.
I give you bonus points for the grammar for goodly profitable. That might be my favorite trade title of all time. That's the goodly profitable VIX trade, if you want to refer to it, listeners. I think we have a title for the show, the goodly profitable VIX show. What do you think?
Is that, maybe we call it the goodly butterfly?
The goodly butterfly. There's a lot of places we can go with that. We'll workshop it. But Mr. Rhoads, I know you were goodly and giddy with this trade. Why were you so excited, sir?
So I was on with Brian and Brian, I give out A+ like I give out candy at Halloween. Don't get all excited about that. That's how you get good reviews from the students. But I do. The reason I like it is it's relatively cheap. Brian was talking about the break even at expiration. Even a move by the underlying future, if we've got a couple of weeks left to maybe the 17-18 range, that actually would give an opportunity to manage the trade a bit. We used to work with someone that would do a trade like this with the NASDAQ, and they're using weeklies. Actually, they were using the Qs, and they would pick a direction depending on trend. And then if, like in the case of this VIX trade, if the underlying for the VIX trade, if it would move to the low 20s or so, they'd sell that in the money call option that's got some nice premium to it, and then buy another one of the out of the money options and convert it into from what they would call it a broken wing butterfly into a vertical spread. And because of the way that VIX behaves, if we get a spike up and it looks like it's stalling out, Brian can sell his long call and maybe benefit from the reversion to the mean. Again, a lot of things have to fall into place for that, but it does offer a great managing opportunity. But also, if we come into the office on Tuesday and we've had and I'm giddy over my UVIX thing, Brian would probably be giddy over this trade as well. Maybe not as giddy. I want to work the word giddy into the title. Probably not as excited if we're in the 30s or 40s, but there's nothing worse than having a directional trade on, and this would be considered a bullish trade, and maybe overshooting and getting the direction right, but the price action screws up your profitability. So I like that VIX at 80, this trade's okay. VIX at 24, this trade's great. So
it would be
there are just a lot of different factors that I liked about it.
It would be quite goodly in that scenario. I think your UVIX would be a little bit more goodly, to coin a phrase, I think, in that scenario. But you're right. Neither one would be. You wouldn't be angry at having either one in your back pocket on such a scenario. Mr. Rock Lobster, the final word is yours, sir. What do you think about Brian's newly minted goodly VIX fly? I think we have a new strategy to discuss in mind here on the show. And then B, anything else catching your eye out there in the world of VIX options this week, sir?
So I'm seeing 18, 24, 28, or 9?
29.
9. So it's 6 in and 5 out.
Right.
These are nice flies because, you can't screw it up if the thing blows up, So when VIX blows up, you can't screw it up. At least it'll be worth something. And generally they have a little more delta. So yeah, I think these are pretty decent plays on upside VIX. I like flies. I generally I don't put them on until we are already backward. Although the curve's a little flatter right now. So mostly because I want to try to get the lift if I'm buying VIX calls. And then once we're backward, sometimes VIX just kind of goes nowhere. I mean, VIX moves, but the futures don't move. So I think they're a good way to kind of ride an annoying trend. But I have to say right now with VIX stuck at 16-ish and the curve flat, I don't think this is a bad way to kind of have the theta is probably positive on this. If I'm not wrong, it's got to be really close. So it's a good way to leverage the upside. What's your net debit on this thing?
20 cents right now. I actually paid 30, so I'm actually down a dime at this moment from Tuesday.
Yeah, and a trade like this, and I think they kind of killed. It's a little weird one. Why it's down so maybe just because there was a little more vol action,
right?
Because it is going to lean a little longer vol in a weird way. But a trade like this, when the cost is small, I like buying them in a group and leveraging against a VIX put or two, or let's say, or VXX puts or SVIX or something like that. So at 30 cents a piece, I'm going to buy 20 of them. And if the market really flies, you can hold those, and then you're looking for $1.50, maybe. Like that would be the max-ish you're going to get. Like until expiration, that's one thing, but realistically between now and expiration, you might get, like double, triple. So if you're in for 30, you might be out for $1.25 on the pop. But if you have a bunch of them, 20 lot, you're like, woohoo. So then, then you could be lazy about your short VIX. So like SVIX underlying against it, this would make like a good hedge. Now that SVIX doesn't actually go to zero anymore. Well, I don't want to say that, but it can have a huge haircut. But, or like SVIX calls versus some of this, like a little longer duration. So this is one of those delayed gratification flies, which could be great. But I like, generally when I buy this like cheapy VIX stuff, I like stacking a bunch of the contracts up against the short vol side on the other. But like right now, I think I would just rather buy the cheap fly because where's VIX going? We're trading at a 10 volatility realized, and nobody wants to sell it. So I think this should hold value too for a long time. So there's a lot of benefits to these flies. You just have to have a reasonable expectation on how much they're going to pay you and when they're going to pay you. So I like using them generally like hedge, like I said, like they make good hedges. You can buy gobbles of them, and you can use them for other stuff. And if the market does fall apart or falls apart late in the cycle, like last week of expiration, anything like that, then actually you make some real bucks. So I would say yes. I think this is a good setup. It's a good way for people that want to learn how to buy VIX without just buying calls and just going to the unhappy place where most of the VIX calls go. It's a lot more user friendly. It is a fly. It is a broken wing fly, but the fly is broken in a good way. But there is lots to learn on this particular one. So yeah, I like these in general. I do not generally buy them when you're in like a regular contango, though. I kind of wait till the vol gets more jiggy like it is now. So this would pass the jiggy test right now.
We're throwing out all those good words.
Yeah.
The jiggy test, the goodlies. Got them rocking and rolling.
The goodly fly passes the jiggy test today, I think, listeners. So yeah, I don't hate this at all. I like this. Definitely, this is the way whenever I play around with flies in VIX land, I tend to like around this distance. I don't go much farther than this for obvious reasons. And also, I like setting it up asymmetrical. You can't do a symmetrical fly in VIX. We all know that. This thing, if you want to capture that explosion, symmetrical fly ain't going to do it for you. So you got to give yourself a little bit of room to run, and this one certainly does that. I'm going to look at this a little more after the show. Who knows? Maybe we'll put some fun on so we can discuss it and keep it in our books for options oddities. Maybe when we pay it off, we'll bring Brian back on options oddities in a bit, in a couple of weeks, and we can see how all this fly magic. Are you down for this goodly fly, listeners? Let's see what else is goodly in the world. I can't get off the goodly, listeners. It's obsessing me today. Let's go out to inverse vol land. Across the 32 threshold very briefly this morning, 31.70 right now. Up almost a full point, about 0.95. So it seemed like it was rocking. It seemed like vol had a good chance and SVIX had a good chance to climb post NVIDIA heading into the long weekend. That's kind of the playbook SVIX likes to follow. And it did so earlier. I have some SVIX calls. I'll talk about what happened with those a little bit later today on options oddities, so get over there at the Pro if you're not yet. And today, SVIX, 13,000 contracts, so a little bit north of half of its ADV, which is 22,000, actually coming down 1,000 from this time last week. The big position right now in SVIX, such as it is, 4,400 of the SEP 32 puts out there. Mr. Rhoads, you're probably the biggest SVIX proponent I know out here. What's catching your eye in SVIX land this week, sir?
It's got to get going. Come on. It's time. It's time for the curve to flatten a bit, for October to come down, so the roll yields, everything needs to start coming back in place, and that thing just needs to start. I feel like one of the things with those funds, and it's both the long and the short, is because they give you daily performance. When they're very volatile, if something is down, just for instance, if something happens to be down 5%, you need a 7.5% move to get back to scratch. So these funds suffer when we have big up days and big down days. There was recently a week where all but one of the directional VIX ETPs were down on the week because of all the volatility. I think the only one that was up was like the short midterm or something along those lines. So it's just, and we've been through periods before where the short one seems to just kind of sit in a range for a while before starting another leg up. So I'm just waiting for the next leg up to start. Don't have any short calls on my SVIX right now. And, I'll put the UVIX on. I have started experimenting around with if UVIX is up on Monday on the open, sell it. If not, maybe look at selling a call option against it that has some time value in it and seeing if that's and against the long and see if that's a way to maybe improve on the exits when we don't have the volatility event. So I'm still playing around with that, but I am buying it every Friday for the weekend. And I do think there's not a whole ton of 3-day weekends in there, but I do think some of the big moves have come during 3-day weekends as opposed to 2-day weekends.
All right, Mr. Bryan, I just put in a 20-cent bid for your fly, so we'll see if they fill me. In which case, I got it at an even more goodly price. So there we go. Extra goodly on my fly. I know you're the biggest fan of SVIX that I know, Brian. So I know you're just watching it week in, week out. You can't get enough. Oh, you know what? They did fill me. They actually improved me, 19 cents. So there you go.
Man, that sucks. I got it. I don't have any idea why it's down a dime, honestly. Maybe the VVIX came off a little bit. I don't know, but because I didn't expect it to lose a dime, because the VIX hasn't really moved much, so it has to be something to do with the vol a little bit. And then you got a better fill. That's just not fair.
I guess they just like me. They hear me on the show. They know I talk up their volume a bit, so they give me a penny every now and then. But I know you were adamantly opposed to SVIX ever returning to the market. Has that opinion changed at all? You still think this thing shouldn't exist?
Well, I wouldn't say it shouldn't, because I know a good professor that likes to trade it a lot, and I want to keep him happy. But I just don't trade it. I don't have much of an opinion on it. Going all the way back to the SVIX, just the situations where these things just disappear for no reason whatsoever, and then they just reinvent them again and start trading them again. So I just don't follow it. I trade the VIX. I trade the VIX options, and that's what I like to trade in this space, and that's usually where I stick. I don't really go outside of the fence that often.
He stays inside his fence. He's got his goodly flies. What else does he need, listeners? Let's run through some of the rest of the ETPs, and I'll let my compatriots here pick their poison. We got kind of sidetracked on that goodly fly, but it was a fun discussion, listeners. UVIX 415 right now, down a little over a third of a point. 23,000 contracts on the tape against an ADV of 36,000. That's unchanged on the week. So UVIX kind of doing its thing, slowly dwindling to naught. UVXY 22 even right now, down about a 0.30 from last week. 61,000 contracts on the tape right now, so looking decent. The ADV is 103,000. That's kind of fallen off a cliff. That's down 16,000. So UVXY may be coming back down to earth, not just in value, but in volume. The big dog in UVXY, it looks like that's all pre-split adjusted nonsense. The first real position is 8,500 of the AUG 25s, which are going out today. So those will be going the way of the dodo any minute. VXX 45, down about 1 3/4 points on the week. 45,000 contracts on the tape today. So looking a little active today. The ADV is only 38,000. So seems like that's finally going to start moving north again. The big dog position in VXX, again, it's a lot of this pre-split adjusted nonsense. It's like we got to go all the way out to the SEP 50s, 8,000 of those to find the first real non-pre-split adjusted position out here. SEP 50s. Interesting. So, Mr. Rock Lobster, anything catching your eye in the world of VIX ETPs this week? Could be SVIX, could be UVIX, UVXY, VXX, any of the above, sir. Pick your poison.
Well, I mean, we did just launch a product around SVIX lately. So there's that.
How's that going? Tell us things about SVIX.
Yes. So one is it has been remarkably going nowhere since
perfect time.
This is like uncanny when we launched these
I know,
things.
perfect time to launch it. You literally pumped the brakes on SVIX second you launched that.
I mean, literally to the day. So, and then all of a sudden, volatility goes into this odd spin where it's not going up, it's not going down. We're stuck in the October cycle where the futures all bid because the OCNO vols are all whacked out, and holy guacamole, Batman. However, it has some theoretical decay again, so there is that. So it's approaching 50 cents a week. At its current price, it probably can get to almost $1 a week in decay. Theoretical decay. We would need VIX cash to kind of drop a little bit, although it is doing that into the close now that the sell-off of all of 15 handles negative for the day in the SPX futures. That's as much as the market can stand. Don't go down any more than that. So SVIX, I would guess at this point, would probably close back on the highs of the day above 32 at this rate if things kind of keep going like they're going. We're going to just pin at 5,600. And so, yeah, I think it's an interesting product. Those embedded calls seem to have helped SVIX tremendously, from what I can tell, especially on that gamma bomb day. And it would be interesting if for us, but I think that gamma bomb day, wouldn't that have put like the old SVXY and the old what was that other short vol product? Was it X?
XIV.
Oh, gosh. Huh?
XIV.
XIV, that's right. Wouldn't it have put those out or much lower than they got? I mean, I know they did take a pretty big haircut, like 35% or 40%, something like that on those couple days. But I thought that kind of spike would have done them in. But it's definitely close. So, but I think the calls did help. And I believe they actually rolled the calls too, if I'm not mistaken. I was reading something that from Vance. So, but they learned something about managing it. It's a whole lot better. And it appears, I could be wrong. Again, this would be interesting, but I'm pretty sure that I think SVIX is kind of like a giant put now. It's because of how many futures are short and how many VIX calls are buying. I feel like it's like a giant in the money put. But I generally, so basically what happens too is if the yield zone of it, if it goes negative or, just below zero on a day, we're just going to close it. So we don't want to go overnight it too much. Historically, vol just generally doesn't go from the positive yield zone deep to negative in one day. Usually, vol kind of picks up and kicks up a little bit before it does that. So the liquidity is getting a little better in SVIX. It's back to kind of decaying upward. And I'm interested to see how, as time goes on and this October future should come in a little bit, how SVIX will perform, because now SVIX is starting to short that October future that's kind of juicy. So, as the election gets closer, do we get more crazy or less crazy? Who knows? But right now they're pricing that Nov October spread like still a little more crazy than we would like, I would say.
It's always crazy, listeners. It's the crystal ball, so let's get to it.
It's time to peer into the future and reveal what the volatility gods hold in store. It's time to look into the crystal ball.
All right, and Mr. Rhoads, you should thank the Rock Lobster for his extended discussion of SVIX, because as he talked, VIX ticked up from 1537 at a 1543 right as we kicked off the show, which puts us from slightly outside your margin of victory. You're at a 15.5, sir, so congratulations to you. Ring the bell. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. That's your first bullseye in a while, Mr. Rhoads, so I have to admit I was rooting for you a little bit there. So I was like, come on, just tick up a little bit. And you got there. So congratulations, sir. I doff my cap to you. You get to choose. I know you got to run a little bit too. I don't want to get you in trouble with your new academic voices.
The blind squirrel found his nut.
He did.
Woo-hoo!
The blind squirrel.
There we go. Now I got to go talk to the dean again.
So give us your VIX prognostication, then you can go forth and prosper, sir.
And I didn't even, of course, I didn't like my guess. I thought it was too high. But I forgot whoever went before me got to do a lower number. So it
might have been me. I think I picked 1475, so I bumped you up. So you're welcome.
I'm going to go for an 1850. I think bad reaction to the employment number next week.
Whoa, 18.5 says the once and future VIX. And
that's because I wanted to go to a place where Brian's like, all right, what the heck do I do with my butterfly now?
That's not fair. That was going to be my guess.
Hey, that's my fly now too, man. And I got it for a better level, so I'll be even more happy than Brian.
So all right, now I'm signing off. I got to go see my boss. Everybody have a great long weekend.
Mr. Rhoads,
bye, Russell.
Enjoy your academia. We shall prosper and move on without you. Mr. Brian, you weren't on the show last week. He just invoked you. You get to go next. What are you feeling this time next week?
Yeah, I was going to say 1830, which is my break even, but now I can't do that. That's boring.
Look at you picking your fly.
So why not get, I can go 1830?
If you want, whatever you want.
Let's make it more. Let's get above 20. Let's go 2030.
Whoa. Hey, I would not be angry at that now that I'm the proud owner of your fly as well.
Yeah, I would love 2030. So it's more of a wish than a prediction.
Whatever happens, I'll...
You really fill that fly at 20 cents?
19 cents.
Yeah, he just did. That's where the quote was. That's insane.
Whatever Brian gets it out of his for, out of mine will be a dime better. So that's all. I'll have that feather in my cap. Mr. Rock Lobster, same question for you, sir. What are you feeling?
Yes. Employment number, I am not feeling, I just feel we're more orbiting. What are we trading right now? 1540 something? I'm going to say I'm going to go 1490. I think the number will come out. It will be ho-hum. And I'm not seeing any real momentum one way or the other. So I'm going to go slightly lower than we are right now. I'm going to go 1490.
Yeah, I was feeling not a ton of difference between this week and last week either. Certainly, I wouldn't hate a 20 handle or an 18 handle. I'd be happy with both of those. My 19-cent fly certainly would be. But I'm going to say we're going to be kind of lingering around this level as well. I typed it while you were talking at 1523. So we got quite the chasm, listeners. Over 5-point wide market this week. So pick your poison. You could drive a truck through our market this week. Actually, Andrew at the low at 1490, then me, 1523. Then our victor for this week, Mr. Rhoads, 18.5, and then Brian hitting a level we haven't talked about in a while here, prognosticated certainly in a while, 2030. All right, listen, that music means we've come to the end of another fun journey through the world of volatility. If you're on the on-demand side, the podcast side, this will conclude your broadcast week with us. Hope you had a good week. Hope you have a fun, long, relaxing holiday weekend. Remember, no option block, no crypto rundown on Monday. The markets are closed. But we'll be back with our usual array of content, plus one next week. So you're actually going to gain a show next week. It should be fun. A new show launching on Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. Should be a banger, as the kids say. And Mr. Overby, good job with your goodly VIX fly. I'm certainly a fan of it now. If folks want to see more of your goodly trades, where should they go? What should they do?
Easiest way is just follow me on x.com. Handle is very simple. It's at my name, at Brian Overby.
There you go, at Brian Overby, Overby on the Twitter. It'll always be Twitter to me, listeners. Give him a follow. Always good stuff over there. Maybe we'll see Brian popping up even more these days on the old network. And last but certainly not least, the guy who's watching SVIX paint dry, Mr. Rock Lobster. Where should folks go if they want to join you?
Yeah, go to optionpit.com. You get 10% off anything. So weekly profit cycles, trading desk, capital gains, any of the above. Check it out, get your learning on, and with all our products are profitable. So if you want to earn while you learn and pay for your subscriptions to Option Pit, what the heck? Learn how to trade these option things. We do it right there in the room with you, doing the same trades. Crazy. Who knows? Whoever knew in this education business that people would be doing the exact same trades their students are? But we do. So anyway, you can get your learning on there at optionpit.com.
OptionPit.com. Get your degree from Option Pit U, listeners. That is going to do it for us here on the on-demand side. If you're hanging out in the pro, we'll be back in a little bit to break down another wild week. I guess I have a fly to put into my Options Oddities rundown. Spoiler alert here. Coming up for Options Oddities. If you're missing out on Options Oddities, it means you're missing out on the pro. And man, you're missing out. All sorts of fun going on throughout the week. We of course, had an awesome pro Q&A. If you like vol, we had Scott Nations on the pro Q&A earlier this week. That guy talks nothing but vol. We went deep into all sorts of crazy vols. That was great. We've had a lot of great vol guests. Mr. VIXologist was just in the hot seat a few weeks ago as well. We go deep in vol on the pro Q&A. So if you listen to this show, you should be listening to the pro. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro. Also gets you into the live, of course, which a lot of our co-hosts, when they're not on the shows, are in the live, chatting with you folks, answering your questions. It's a good time. And of course, Options Oddities get you past the velvet rope after vol views. So TheOptionsInsider.com/pro is the place to go. See you back here in a little bit on the pro side for Options Oddities. Then everybody have a great, long, relaxing holiday weekend. Again, no shows on Monday, new show on Wednesday, and then we're back again next Friday, another episode of Volatility Views. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.